In this story, our protagonist needs to get rejected by girls in order to complete the system's missions. Unlike other stories, here our protagonist is already close to finishing his missions from the beginning. And the most unusual thing is that our protagonist is not a fool. Quite the opposite. If someone gives him an opening, he makes a move. He had already received 999 rejections and needed only one last love confession, turned down to complete all the missions and return home. But strangely enough, now all the women want to be with him. But to get to that day, we need to go back a bit in the story. Several female cultivators were arguing with each other. The angel woman said she knew the methods Lara Lynn was using and would not accept her marriage to Shen. The crimson mage said Shen was hers, and she wouldn't let anyone steal him. Finally, the purple witch declared that the heavens wanted her to marry Master Shen. And last, the futuristic sissy soldier girl said Shen Fan belongs to her. Lara Lynn was extremely irritated and began releasing her swords and even said she wouldn't tolerate arrogant words. Pointing her finger at the other four women, Lara said they had rejected Shen and asked where their dignity was. The little angel said that was in the past, and that now she had changed her mind. And all the others began saying that in the past, they had turned down Shen Fan, but now they truly loved him. Extremely furious, the girl said that now she was Shen Fan's fiancée, and that, because of that, they should stop chasing him. This argument among the girls attracts the attention of a large group of women, and finally, we see our protagonist high up on a cloud, watching the whole argument. The system woman appears, coming out of a portal. She starts joking, saying it's a shame he wasn't rejected by Miss Lara Lynn, because if he had been, he would have broken free from the system. Since he hadn't managed to break, quote-unquote, this curse, she said he would have to compensate her. For those who didn't understand yet, our boy would have to sleep with the system woman. He had to do this every night, since he was cursed in this kind of game. After getting up, our protagonist asks the house robot to close the curtains. Our hero is Shen Fan, and he has been in this world for about 3 years. He used to be a loser, but thanks to the system, he gained great wealth, status, and even superpowers. The system woman calls him host, and since he failed the last mission, he would still have to be with her. That is, he had received 999 rejections after confessing to women in this world. And with each rejection, our hero gained superpowers and rewards. And every night he had to reward the system girl by staying with her. Our boy said that in the beginning it felt like something perfect, but he grew tired of this woman and even said it destroyed his dignity. So, we go back a few days, when he received this last mission, which was mission number 1000. If he could get rejected by this girl, he could free himself from the system. So I don't keep saying system all the time. I'll call this woman Sissy. Sissy presents the profile of the final girl, the girl of the final challenge. And it was none other than Lara Lynn, a maiden of the Lingang sect. Our hero keeps saying this mission will be very easy, because there's no way a girl of that level would want to go out with him. That's because our boy had developed a technique of dressing like a beggar, so girls would reject him very easily. After all, the guy had already received 999 rejections in a row, so he knew what he was doing. At that moment, the princess of the clan appears, and she was extremely beautiful. In a somewhat disgusting way, he hugs the girl's feet, saying he's confessing his love and wants to marry her. At that moment, the girl thinks, how is it possible for someone to be touching her, since she had a curse that no one could touch her? Maybe it was the fate of the gods placing this man before her. I forgot to mention that this girl was extremely addicted to romance novels. And with a sly smile, Shen Fan thought it was already in the bag. He was about to receive the final rejection. But, to his surprise, she said she didn't want to date him because they should just get married already. Mocking our hero, Sissy said the host's confession was successful, and now he was moving on to the second stage of the infernal battlefield. And that's why he had caused a big argument among the clan's masters. In response, the boy said he didn't like the idea of women fighting over him. And so it said that the battle was just beginning. Later, after realizing he wouldn't get rid of Sissy, he became a bit thoughtful in the shower. He even thought about the possibility of Sissy tormenting him for the rest of his life. Now the infernal battle would begin, and it's explained to the contestants how it would work, and the winner would marry the young master. They all receive a tablet containing the rules, and the cultivation masters who had rejected him were now humiliating themselves to marry our hero. After getting out of the shower, Shenfan said he was in a bad mood and didn't want to be with Sissy, but to his surprise, it was the Crimson Mage lying in his bed. At that moment, the Purple Witch shows up trying to restrain him. She said she wouldn't let the Crimson Mage have the hottie, and to make his situation even worse, the futuristy Sissy warrior comes out of the TV. This is starting to look like that movie The Ring. The angel, as always, was the most polite and came through the front door. In a cute way, she felt shy about ringing the doorbell because she didn't want to bother the love of her life. But unexpectedly, his entire house is blown to pieces, leaving only the front part. They were all battling to see who would become Shenfan's wife. Our hero, of course, gets furious because his house was destroyed, so he uses the divine technique of mile traveling and vanishes, leaving them surprised. He took off far away. Good for him. Earlier, he had failed to escape from Sissy, and now was the target of a group of fierce girls. Shenfan grabs his cell phone. It had been 3 years since he had, let's say, been exploited by Sissy, and his dream was to find true love. When he was getting ready for bed, he noticed his phone was ringing. It was Lara Lynn. She was calling our hero, asking if he'd like to go out on a date with her. The guy already gets all smitten, right? Saying of course he'd love to go out with her. Since he couldn't get rid of the system, he was going to enjoy the beauty of love and date someone he really liked. Although it wasn't easy to deal with, he admitted it was pretty cool having several beautiful girls chasing him. That guy is shameless. The scene cuts back to the girls still arguing. Karmazin says the Purple Witch messed everything up, and so they start fighting each other. At that moment, Sissy shows up saying she has good news and bad news, and asks which one they'd like to hear first. They all vote for the bad news. So she uses her Magi Sissy to show that one girl was already taking the lead in winning Shenfan's little heart. The witch Karmazin asks what the good news was, and opening her hands, she said the good news was that she had already made a strategy to give room for all the other competitors. Sissy was going to organize things fairly so that each of them could have a date with our hero. In other words, the one who was still standing after the battle would be the next candidate. That was basically it. However, Sissy had organized the order of the dates based on the girl's underwear. In very first place was Cecilia, who had white lacy lingerie, and the girl gets embarrassed, asking how Sissy knew that. In second place was Freya, who had blue and white striped underwear. In third place was Neona, who was wearing purple lace. That's more like beachwear, I don't know about that one. And in last place was Akivi, who was wearing some weird outfit you couldn't even tell what it was. She even complains, saying she wore something different today, and that's why she got the short end of the stick. To send them off, Sissy says she arranged everything fairly so they'd each get a chance to win over our hero. Wishes good luck. At that moment, Shen was going to meet Lara, and even wore those ragged clothes of his. He had never felt that before, and even mentions that this girl is very kind and beautiful. Holding our hero's hands, she said she would buy new clothes for him. As soon as they entered the mall, one of the security guards kept staring at that poorly dressed boy. The guy went over yelling at our hero, saying he couldn't let a homeless guy enter the place. However, Miss Lara Lynn said that boy wasn't a beggar, but was with her. Well, after that, our hero was wearing some flashy clothes. This made the girl extremely in love, saying he looked like a hottie. Shen thanks her, but says those clothes were very expensive, and even mentions that he ended up dirtying her outfit. In response, Lara said he shouldn't worry about money, and that she could also buy new clothes for herself. Lara wanted him to help her pick out an outfit, and the shameless guy kept watching the girl try on several different ones. Her cheeks even turn red and she asks which one looked best. At that moment, a cultivator who liked Lara showed up trying to embarrass Shen Fan. He was part of the second wealthy generation of the Zhou family and prepared an attack. At that moment, the girl steps in front to protect her beloved. Using a sword technique, she cuts through the Magi Sissy and asks who dares to attack her partner. And she even starts making comparisons with the romance books she reads, saying it was time for the female lead to save her beloved. Pointing the sword at the guy, she asked what kind of trouble he was looking for. The guy said that boy just wanted to be with her because she was rich, and that Lara deserved someone better. Petting her head, our big guy said that level of mockery wasn't enough to provoke him, and that he would show her he deserved to be with the girl. Our protagonist was badass, but she didn't know that and tells the guy that if he wants to fight, they should do it outside. Shen wouldn't fight inside an establishment, as it would be a disgrace to the owner. And that made the girl even more in love. And that battle between the two turned into a big event. Lots of people were watching, and the guy kept provoking Shen, saying he was just a weak homeless man. Keep talking, my friend. The shame will only get bigger. The bully charges in saying that this move was impossible to block, as it was dark magic. However, the dude ends up splitting the attack with a wind blade. That was extremely shocking, because dark magi sissy had never been blocked before. While the girl was watching, she kept making comparisons with romance novels and said Shen Fan looked like a prince. What's up, man? Weren't you all confident a second ago? Come on, go for it. Since he doesn't want to attack, now it's my turn. And Shen Fan immediately starts preparing a blade summoning. That was very impressive, because the sword summoning technique was only used by advanced level masters. After a few seconds, that bully is slashed by the blades flying through the air. And he even got a hood-style side cut. The girl even thinks that now she can't slip up, because the other girls might become interested in him. Hugging our hero, she smiles, saying the date was interrupted, but that she'll give him a reward, if you know what I mean. Meanwhile, the bully is left humiliated in front of the store. They go to a hotel downtown and he's surprised, thinking this girl has a very open mind. She was changing clothes to give that little surprise to our hero. You know exactly what kind of surprise that is, right? She had read in a romance book that men like bunny costumes, so she had bought one of those. As soon as she comes out of the bathroom, our hero is paralyzed and a message appears saying that his affection had increased. She was trying really hard to look cute and kept imitating a bunny while apologizing, since the date was interrupted. In her mind, the girl was celebrating, thinking it was a success, and that her bunny impression turned out really well. And it actually worked, because the big guy had a runny nose, and even said she wasn't shy or innocent at all. She asks why he wouldn't want to forgive her, and if she should do something more to reward him. According to the book she read, this was the perfect moment to knock him down, quote-unquote. So she used that technique pretending to trip, a very common tacticity in anime. The girl stumbles and falls on top of our hero, and he says he's seen that scene in several places before. Using all her seduction tricks, she asks if he had forgiven her. However, to ruin the mood, Lara's phone rang. It was an urgent call from her clan, saying she needed to return soon. The girl explains, saying it's a family matter, and apologizes to Master Shen, saying she'd like to reward him another day. And after putting on a coat, she promises she'll come back to reward him. And of course, the big guy got all excited with blushing cheeks. And this was the first time he had felt that kind of passion. And since our protagonist never gets a break, Sissy shows up. She makes a joke saying it's a shame he didn't get to the good part. This guy didn't even have privacy. The scene shifts to the elders of the Lin family, and they were talking about Lara's marriage. The head of the family was very angry, saying the girl couldn't marry the beggar. One of the secretaries said he was able to break the curse they had placed on her. And they even suspect this might be the work of other sects trying to take the girl from them. The secretary says there's no reason to worry, as the girl was already back at the family headquarters. Some wanted to investigate the boy's life, but one of the elders said it was better to eliminate him, because no one could take the White Lotus. After seeing Shen's tired face, we can already imagine what Sissy did to him. At that moment, the boy realizes he was being followed. On top of a building, there was a Lin family henchman who received orders to eliminate Shen. That way, several other henchmen jumped down, telling the boy they were just following orders. Actually, I'm glad, because I want to know who sent you after me. He simply uses a wind hurricane, throwing them all far away. And holding one of the guys by the face, he asks who sent him. After taking a good beating, the henchman says he was sent by the Lin family, because they didn't want the boy to marry Lara. Who do they think they are to decide her life? And the poor guy ended up getting beat up just for doing his job. The protagonist kept beating him up until he reached the Lin family headquarters. Once he got there, our hero caused a huge explosion, drawing everyone's attention. And the cultivator masters already knew what it was about, and asked if he had any idea of the consequences of provoking the Lin family. However, our protagonist wasn't alone. He brought the waifu squad. This guy knows what he's doing. With that, the masters wonder what the other sect's intention is in stealing the sacred body of the White Lotus. And using the wind blade technique, they attack our hero, thinking he wants to steal Lara. They simply treat the girl as if she were an object. And with her imposing shield, the angel manages to block those attacks. Right after that, they all prepare for battle, since they were helping Shen. With that, the tech girl uses a protective barrier. He can't believe the girls really followed him, especially to rescue another girl. But as we know, they're simps, and run over saying they would do anything for him, leaving the angel jealous, because she couldn't stop blocking that attack. Of course we came to help you save Lara Lin. We do everything for you, young Master Shen. The Crimson Witch said that at first she even thought it would be nice to have a rival, but the young master would be very sad. As it is the dream of all of us, or rather, as it is the dream of every protagonist to have a harem, he gets all happy. Meanwhile, the angel, she's having a really hard time trying to block those attacks. All romantic, our hero touches the girl's shoulder, thanking her for coming to help rescue Lara. That makes her cheeks turn red and even gives her a super power buff. That was the power of love. The little red mage, she says, that actually, the woman with chicken wings gave up being the first to join the date, and that's why they came after him.
Meanwhile, one of the sex masters said this boy was shameless, since he was with other women and still wanted to marry Lara Lin. Listen here, you old hag. You have no right to control Lara's marriage. If she wants to marry me, she will, and you can't do anything about it. Does this dumb kid even know this girl's past? The old man is surprised because his attacks didn't work on our hero. The waifus start coming up with a plan to attack those old geezers all at once while they were arguing with Shenfan. And that's exactly what they do, launching several surprise spells. However, the old guy, he was tough and managed to block those strikes. All of you were deceived by this man. So I'll let you leave and just leave him behind. Acting all cocky, our hero said he would defeat this old man with just one finger and that he would do it to teach him a lesson. Since he had gained a lot of riches through the system, he started pulling some strings in the stock market, and that was enough to cause huge losses to the Lin family. The secretary starts to panic. He comes running, saying that the Lin family's stock prices had plummeted, and even the dragon government started classifying the family's businesses as illegal. That's because Shen, he was very influential, not the beggar everyone thought he was. Tell me now where your ancestor is, because I want to talk to him in person. You think you can meet the Lin family's ancestor whenever you want? Yes, I want to see him right now today. And summoning a giganti-sissy sword, that old man said this boy was too arrogant and that this was an insult. Seeing the size of that summoning spell, they start to get scared, saying they were going to be defeated. And meanwhile, our protagonist said that old man was really funny. In a very simple way, he grabs that summoned sword, and within seconds, he drains all that spiritual energy. Now it's my turn, and he already summons a power against the cultivators. Fallen on the ground, the cultivation master said that was impossible. Only someone at the immortal level could do that. And he already touches the old man's forehead to read his memories. He had gathered all the information about Lara, and that way he discovered she had a sacred white lotus body. And if offered to a cultivator, it would grant infinite power. That's why they had adopted that little girl, to cultivate her power and create a new immortal master in the sect. Everything they did for that girl was only to take advantage of her sacred body. And upon learning this, Shen, he gets furious, saying that attitude is shameful. But the old man said he wouldn't understand. They were basically going to consume the girl's spiritual energy to reach the level of immortals. And the old man is surprised because Shen seemed to have exactly that kind of power. After calming down, he tells the girls that he discovered where Lara was, and even calls them to help with the rescue, making them fall for him because he was so powerful. The little purple witch, she asked the red mage to eliminate that coward, but it seemed the girl didn't have the courage to do that to someone. After walking through the palace, they find a very suspicious door. The mage tries to warn that this place looks like a trap, and only a fool would walk in there. However, everyone was walking completely naturally, not noticing the danger. The big guy walks through the door and they all stay waiting. Right after, he sees a thick mist. The bamboo forest didn't let him see very far. This was probably an illusion, and the cultivators wanted to separate him from the other girls. Through the memories, he discovered that the 3 remaining elders weren't very good at fighting. That's why they were using this strategy. After walking through the forest, he ends up finding Lara and gets surprised. The girl comes running toward him, calling him by his name, with a love-struck face. And as always, she throws herself at the boy, knocking him to the ground. She says the ancestors of the Lin family had used this forbidden area to transfer her power, and the guy already falls in love with her bold attitude. However, when she pulls his hand closer to her, the boy finds something strange. She even asks if his heart was beating faster when he was near her. This shameless girl was using all her charms. However, he noticed that she had a mole on her body. And since he had a good memory, he remembered that the day before when she was wearing that costume, she didn't have that mole. So, for sure, this was a disguise illusion.
And actually, this was the Crimson Mage. Stop it! I saw through your disguise. When he shook the girl, that illusion ended up dissipating. Then, one of the cultivation masters behind it appeared saying he was very clever. The girl had been hypnotized by this shameless master. This was the 7th immortal of the Lin family, Yun Lin. He even mentions that, probably, our hero already had a companion with a sacred white lotus body, so there was no reason for him to want to take Lara for himself. Shen asks what he means by that. And it seemed the Crimson Mage was coming back to her senses. That handsome guy explains that Shen only has this immortal body because he must cultivate with a woman who has a sacred white lotus body. This makes Shen furious, as he realizes what those guys wanted to do with Lara. Who got it? Got it. After landing a blow, it turns out to be just a leaf illusion. And the one there was actually the tech girl, who was also hypnotized. That shameless master placed an illusion so she would think Shen was an enemy. When trying to attack, the mage used a protective barrier. However, right behind her was the soldier, ready to finish the girl with her laser sword. Shen manages to step in and block the attack while asking Akve to calm down. But the hypnosis magi sissy was very strong and wouldn't be easy to break. So, using the power of the system, he summons the power of the snake. After casting that snake magic, it wraps around the girl's body. She becomes immobilized because of that power. And meanwhile, the mage comments that she was lucky because she didn't end up in such an embarrassing position. The red liquid of our hero was extremely powerful, and he ends up putting a little in the girl's mouth to break the spell. And in that way, the hypnosis was undone. Returning to her senses, the girl asks what had happened. He explains that his spiritual energy was able to break the hypnosis, and that now they are safe. As expected, the other two had also been hypnotized, and the angel ends up appearing, calling the three down their evil pagans. She said she would bring divine punishment upon them. The big guy uses that snake to capture her, and she also ends up being caught by that spell. Falling to the ground, the girl keeps asking to be eliminated because this humiliation was too great. And just like he did with the other, he also puts his finger in her mouth to break the spell. That way, 3 of them had already been rescued. And the girls comment that he was amazing. Holding that snake, he comments that he never imagined he would use that spell. At that moment, a purple smoke began to cover the entire area, and he already knew who it was. It was Neona, one of the most intense because of her power. She was going crazy and said she would eliminate everyone in her path. However, her willpower was very strong, and she managed to break the hypnosis for a brief moment and asked Shen to save her. The guy didn't know if she was just pretending or if it was real, so she herself put his finger in her mouth for the spell to be broken. From above, the cultivation master realized that our protagonist really was powerful. None of the girls were able to stop him, and now he would have to fight with his own strength. From below, the mage realized that this master was hiding and warned all the others. Without giving the guy time to escape, the girl used her full starlight expansion. That surprise attack hit the master's body head-on, and in this way, his clone ended up falling lifeless. Our hero realized it was just a substitute. He had done that to escape with his spirit, and he kept saying that Shen didn't have enough power to trap him. Now that his physical body was defeated, he could enjoy paradise. A little further away, there was Lara trapped inside a barrier. She knew she had a different body, but she didn't know all the details. One of the house staff comments that the boy she liked came there to rescue her and even brought other women. This makes the poor girl very worried, saying that the Lin family was very dangerous. However, this woman keeps saying that this girl was ungrateful, since the whole family treated her very well, and now she was trying to betray them. It wasn't exactly betrayal against the family, since all she wanted was to be happy with the one she loved. However, the master said that this wasn't her destiny. The girl thought she was destined to be with Shen, since he broke her curse. However, the woman says that this curse was placed by the elders themselves. They took her when she was still a little girl, since she had that holy white lotus body, and placed that curse so she couldn't be with any other man. That left Lara surprised, of course, because she didn't know any of that, and even found out she had been stolen from her parents. In response, the assistant said all of that was so they could use the girl's power. And since they treated her well, she should repay by giving what they wanted. That assistant, worm-faced, keeps scaring Lara even more, saying that boy wouldn't be able to save her. Then she responds by saying she would use her Magicissy so he could find her. Even if she tried to stop it, the assistant wouldn't be able to, because there was a protective barrier. And using her cultivation, she ends up striking her own body with a blade of water. That ends up causing a wound. And she said that now Shen could find her by sensing that injury. How long have you known this boy? Why do you trust him so much? In response, Lara said it was because of feminine intuition. But in truth, it was because she was a romanticissy who really wanted to follow the stories from her books. Since she was born, she couldn't touch any person, and all the staff in the house had to use Magi-Sissy to interact with her. Even when she saw animals, she couldn't touch them. The creatures even felt fear of her because of that curse. And ever since then, she lived a life in complete solitude, never touching a single person. Fortunately, she fell in love with romance books, and that was her refuge to escape her sad reality. They told her she could break that curse by strengthening her own cultivation energy. From there, she started training hard, intending to reach the realm of Mariama, and thus break the spell. During all this time, many men confessed their love to her, but the girl couldn't do anything about it, since she couldn't touch them. That made her very sad, because she always imagined finding her true love, just like in the books. Then, on a beautiful day, a poorly dressed boy touched her leg, saying he loved her and wanted to marry her. Never before, in her entire life, had she touched another person, and that was enough to make her fall in love. Maybe she was falling in love too quickly, but she truly liked Shen. She even chose clothes wondering if he would like them. She even read relationship tips to use with him, and that's why she loved our hero so much. At that moment, Shen's group appears, leaving the assistant surprised. He had managed to track her because of that wound, and ran there to the water well. With a simple elbow strike, he ends up breaking that barrier. This dude was badass. Holding the girl, he asks what the hell they did to her. And scared to death, the assistant said it was the girl herself who hurt herself so he could track her. Very worried, our protagonist assures that she'll be fine. However, her vision was getting blurry, and she began to lose consciousness. At that moment, she wakes up in another place, still bound by the curse's chains. The cultivation master said it was all Shenfan's fault, who ended up ruining his plan that had been going on for many years. Right after that, the girl wakes up in Shen's arms. Was it you who saved me? If it wasn't me, who else would it be? The girls got jealous and even asked to be carried by him. The guy replies that he only did it because she was injured and they needed to get out of there as quickly as possible. And the soldier girl immediately goes hugging our hero. Then, the mage starts pulling the girl by the legs so she lets go of Shen. And with that, they all start hugging him, saying they wanted his attention. And that's why Magala didn't want to be left out and ends up jumping on top of the girls. The secretary, she realizes that the handsome guy, he was very popular and that many women were interested in him. Shen asks them to be quiet and says he had something important to tell all of them. Still holding Lara in his arms, he said that from now on he would protect her. He wouldn't let the Lin family bring shame again in the future, and if necessary, he would eliminate them all. From afar, the cultivation masters realized they got wrecked, and that this young boy was very powerful. However, they couldn't let him get away that easily. The old men ask where the ancestor of the Lin family was, and our hero says he had fled, and the old men freeze. Now that that shameless guy, who was the family heir, had been defeated, the secretary asks if the family was already ruined. The girl says she was embarrassed and said she could walk, since she had already recovered from her injuries. All the others were very jealous. The tech suit detected abnormal body temperature on Akive, since she was very much in love. And with that, her outfit ended up exploding. All because of love. Very shy, Lara said that now she couldn't go back to her family, and she wouldn't have anywhere to stay. Holding the girl by the arms, he said he would give her a comfortable home. And in a very cute way, she said he was very kind. All the others get jealous, saying they also wanted to live with him, and that it would be unfair to them. Since his wish was to build a harem, he ends up agreeing, saying it really would be unfair, because all of them had helped. They all should follow him, because they were all going to live together in a big mansion. He calls for his limousines, and Anjo says that this car can't even turn, since it was way too long. Who shows up there is Sissy, and she tells Anjo that this car didn't need to move according to physics, since it used magic. And she even says that she had prepared everything inside the car. They all head inside the limousine. None of them had ever entered such a luxurious car, and they're all amazed. On the other hand, she only wanted to take advantage of our hero, saying she wants to have lots of fun tonight. This one didn't think about anything else and even asks where they were going to have fun. Back off, woman. Aren't you ever tired, for God's sake? Besides, did you find out any information about the Lin family that I needed? She explains that yes, she did find out, and it had already been 600 years since the ancestor of the Lin family ascended to the heavens, and he had the ability to take over bodies. Meanwhile, the other girls kept trying to listen to what our hero was talking about with the system woman. Lara remembers very well the master saying that it didn't matter where she ran. In the end, she would become his energy sphere. That left the girl very sad. With a dark aura around her body, she said that Shen should stay safe. Later on, they arrive at the place where the mansion was supposed to be. The protagonist asks Sai if he hadn't requested a really big house in that location, with a room for each girl. Then the construction team welcomes Miss Shen. They had confused things, thinking that the system was actually the young master. They messed up badly, and she even said that they were confused. A little embarrassed, the guy looked at the people just behind and assumed our protagonist was the driver. Then he goes to the woman he judged to be the most beautiful, thinking she was Miss Shen. In a slightly shy way, she told this guy that she also wasn't Shen. And to help the guy, our hero gives a twist. Immediately he turns, saying it was just a joke, and that he liked to play around. And meanwhile, the little purple witch gets all happy after being called Miss Shenfan. He asked where the 5 houses he had ordered were. At that moment, the nosy system shows up saying that each of the girls would be able to choose the house however they wanted. Each one would have a house just for herself, and the young master would stay in the center so it wouldn't be unfair to any of them. The angel girl, she asks when they will move into this new house, since construction hadn't even started yet. The construction team said they would use super technology and it would be ready in a single day, meaning tomorrow. However, the price would be a little high. To humiliate everyone, our hero pulls his super ultra blaster card out of his pocket. He was so rich that it emitted a light from the card strong enough to blind people. As they leave, the construction team is all happy, saying the house will be ready tomorrow. After everyone made their requests for how they wanted their houses there, C says they should come back tomorrow to move in. However, Lara, she didn't have a house, and our hero, he didn't know how to spend the night with this girl without hurting the other girls. The 4 ended up jumping on him, saying they would spend the night in a hotel altogether. He ends up using his power to push them all away. Now that Lara was homeless, he said she would live with him in his own mansion. But the other girls started saying that it was unfair, because Lara was getting ahead of them, and now it was another girl's turn. However, the system said that Lara's turn wasn't over yet, since her date had been interrupted. Using teleportation magic, they go to his room, and the guy said she could spend the night there. And using her seductive charms, Lara said she wanted to stay there a little longer with him, and he agrees, of course. Right after that, she goes to take a shower, and had even picked out an outfit to please him. And meanwhile, the boy was trying hard not to seem nervous, and even thought the system might interrupt him at the last moment. Right after that, someone knocks on the door. Who was there was Lara herself, with her body wet, since she had just gotten out of the shower. Shen asks why she didn't dry off properly, but unexpectedly, she ends up striking our hero with a sword, piercing his chest. With a dark voice, she said, "This is what happens when someone rebels against her." Since that voice wasn't the girl's, he quickly realized she was being controlled by that master. Licking the blade, the guy said that's exactly right, and that he wouldn't let the boy get away with it. However, our hero, he was one step ahead, and said he had already predicted this. And with his body glowing, he said he had finally found him. That was the spiritual world that normal humans couldn't enter. And the guy is confused. After using a spell, he tries to figure out how Shen managed to enter there. In response, Shen says that this soul curse is a trait of Western demons, and that's why he was able to track him. In an arrogant tone, The Elder Master said that this spiritual territory made his body stronger. And realizing Shen could withstand that energy, he said he would take his body instead of taking Lara Lin's. At that moment, he realized the protagonist's body was lifeless, and that was only his energetic form, so to speak. Realizing this opening, our hero prepares to attack him. However, the Elder Master had much greater strength inside that spiritual world, and with that, he ends up launching a /talisman attack. With a blue aura in his hands, Shen manages to block this attack, and in an almost perfect way, he ends up draining all that energy into his blue flames. The Elder Master couldn't believe that this young guy was capable of doing that, and asks how he's able to use this technique. Realizing he couldn't defend himself, he saw he was screwed. With that, our hero landed a full little punch right on his face. Serves that bully right. In the Lin family temple, the master saw that the other master's tablet had been broken. That's because that immortal being was being defeated. And before leaving, the guy says he had absorbed all of Lara Lin's memory and she wouldn't remember this boy anymore. Our protagonist wasn't really buying it, but he ran over there to see if the girl was still okay. C ends up appearing, and he asks how she managed to show up in the spirit world. But she says she's everywhere all the time because she defeated the immortal elder. He ended up receiving a reward, and now could take over someone else's body. He said he didn't care about any reward. He just wanted to help recover Lara Lin's memory. But the system says that this reward was exactly for that. And our hero ends up touching the girl's head, trying to see her memories. With the intention of healing her, he goes back into the past, into the girl's memories. She was very sad because she had touched a puppy. That scene was very shocking to the girl. So, he goes there and uses his power to heal the little animal. After restoring its wounds, she celebrates a lot. Then, she explains that it's because of her curse, which didn't allow her to touch other living beings. The boy stretches out his hand and touches her head to break that evil spell. That wasn't interfering with the past, but rather with the girl's memories. And the feeling she had for Shenfan became even stronger. With that, all her memories were changed, and she remembered being able to interact normally with other people and even animals. After leaving the spiritual world, Shen, he used the rest of his energy to resurrect himself. When he opened his eyes, Lana was there hugging him, and the boy asks if she remembered him. The girl said he shouldn't put himself in danger anymore, and that she wanted to spend the rest of her life with him. At that moment, the system, she kept talking in his head, saying he hadn't turned in his homework today, if you know what I mean. But the guy was already fed up with Sis, and says out loud that he doesn't want to be with her today. That's because he was face to face with a much more attractive and interesting girl. If you agree with Shen, leave a comment below. While she hugged him tightly, the system ended up replacing our hero with a giant stuffed carrot. This left the girl embarrassed, thinking he had run away from her, and even gets mad, saying romance books are all lies, and that there's no point in a woman being dominant, because that scares men away. At that moment, a light on her body starts to shine, and she realizes her cultivation power was returning to normal. Elsewhere, our protagonist gets mad at Sissy, saying she doesn't leave him alone, not even for a single day, and that she's only doing this to mess things up, because he was about to seal the deal with Lara. She explains that our hero's energy was too intense. Not just any woman could handle it, if you know what I mean. But at the same time, he needed to release that energy. The guy gets super embarrassed, saying this system was a naughty one. In response, she said that the price of becoming a system host was just that. It was a very expensive price. So she asks if what she means is that he needs to practice dual cultivation with the right person. That wasn't exactly it. And she states that if his energy wasn't controlled, he could destroy cities. And if by any chance he thinks he can't control his own energy, then he has to keep releasing that power, cultivating with her. However, that wasn't what this guy wanted. But to his bad luck, Lara ends up showing up at that moment. She gives a little excuse saying that she arrived at the wrong time and said she would leave them alone. Holding the girl's hand, Sissy says that she arrived at the right time. She said that Shan wasn't going to remain exclusive to her, and that the girl should enjoy the last date, because after that, it would be another girl's turn. And it will be necessary, because it should give other WFs the opportunity to win our hero's little heart. And that way he goes on a date at the mall with Lara. Arriving there, the girl who had rejected him ended up meeting him. She was with her friends and said it was good to see him again after so long. The chubby friend asks her boss how she knows such a handsome guy like that, and she says that she just used this guy. Lara arrives at that moment and remembers the romance books where the male protagonist suffered bullying from girls, so she runs over there to save her love, saying that the boy was already committed. In response, the boss said that she recognizes this girl. She was the former heir of the Lin family, and even comments that she had lost her cultivation power. Rumors had spread that she was expelled from the family and had lost her powers. And these girls keep mocking Lara Lin. Playing a character from her books, she says that a protagonist cannot be mocked in front of her boyfriend, and releasing a powerful gust of wind, she throws all these girls into the air. And that attack is quite embarrassing for these girls, and after falling to the ground, they keep saying that the rumors about this girl losing her cultivation were lies. Turning to our hero, she gives a little smile telling him not to waste time with stupid people like them. And the girls keep chasing them, saying that they need to get revenge on that girl. Lara preferred to break ties to be with love, and now she was regretting having rejected this boy, because he seemed to be amazing and also very rich. Other guys tried to get with Lara, but she ended up choosing this guy. That's why he should be someone different. They even thought that they wouldn't be able to enter that store, because only the richest and most powerful people went in. However, by showing his black card, they were allowed access, and even kept saying that he must be someone very rich to have such a black card. That's right. The girl with the purple hair gets all sad, since she had refused to marry this boy, and even said that she was going to get her rich wife life back. No matter what happened, she watches some other girls going in there and wonders if she's the only one going through this. All those girls who went in there were in love with our hero, because besides being handsome, he was very rich. But the ones who end up showing up there to protect him are precisely his waifus. Sissy keeps laughing, saying that the competition is getting fierce and that it's fun to watch everything. Our hero was looking at some expensive watches to buy, and of course the seller kept trying to offer the most valuable ones. He ends up giving a slightly embarrassed smile, because Lara said that he looked really good with that watch. On the other side of the store, the girls were teaching those love-struck girls a lesson. The little mage, she kept saying that now it was her turn, because Lara had already spent enough time with Shen. And she even complains to Sis, saying that this is being very unfair. But the system told her not to be in a hurry, because her time would come. Besides, if they kept bothering Shen, he probably wouldn't want to have contact with them anymore. So it was better for them to stay quiet, and the girls end up agreeing. On the other side of the street, some older people keep saying that youth nowadays is very innocent, observing there the little romance of our protag. In an embarrassed way, she ends up pulling our hero, saying that it's getting very late, and it would be better for them to go inside to rest for the night. You already understand what this resting for the night means, right? However, his phone ends up ringing. When he answers, he realizes it was the system girl. She shows up there with the limousine, saying that the love nest was completed and that the girls should move there. Look at the name of this house. The girls were inside the limousine quite angry, because they were jealous of him. Noticing that the atmosphere was not very pleasant, he told Lara to sit in the front, because she could be in danger. And when he sits in the back seat, all the girls jump on him, wanting to get his attention. Again, may the system appear for all of us. They even try to kiss our protagonist, and he realizes that the atmosphere is getting very hot. So he uses his secret tactic, which is to teleport and leave his little teddy bear there. He goes directly to the mansion, where the houses were finished. He noticed that the architecture was very different, and even wonders if it was the real world. On the other hand, Sissy was driving the limousine, making Lara worried, asking if by any chance our hero was in danger. She even imagines that the girls will jump on him like a fierce tiger, and even keeps saying that he is a poor little thing. However, Sissy told the girl not to worry, because Shen Fan was very powerful, and besides she was very good at managing to capture his little heart. Besides, she also profited, because she had managed to break that curse and even recover her cultivation power. So, she should keep it a secret that our protagonist had these mysterious powers, and she ends up saying that she won't tell this to anyone. Later, when they arrive, our protagonist was already there waiting. All of them are surprised, because the house they had requested really came out as they imagined. The angel's house looked more like a palace, and she keeps saying that it's exactly as she had asked. The futuristic sissy girl's house ended up looking like a giant cyborg, and her eyes start shining, saying that it's very beautiful. The Crimson Mage's house ended up quite creepy, and she said that she didn't expect them to get those rare magical materials. And last but not least, the Purple Mage's house. And she falls in love, saying that the house turned out perfect. The hero said that the styles of these houses are quite diverse, and Sissy even agrees, saying that it turned out exactly as they wanted. However, Lara Lynn's house wasn't ready, and Sissy said that it's because she was possessed by that spirit when she made the request, so they didn't consider it. Whispering in the girl's ear, he said that it wouldn't be a problem, because she could live in his house until it was ready. This makes all the other girls pay attention to our hero, since they were dying of jealousy and also wanted to spend the night with him. When he realized that they had heard that whisper, he already got tense. "We also want to live with you." How did they hear that? However, there was only one way to calm these girls down, says Sis. Freya already starts preparing a magi sissy to destroy his house, intending to spend the night with our hero. Akive also grabs her bazooka, intending to destroy everything. Then he screams very loudly, telling them that he had something important to announce. He had decided that he would visit their personalized house in the next few days, so they should take very good care of the home. Later, when he was at his house, he thought that his declaration could backfire, since they were very crazy, and it would be risky to be alone with one of them. As expected, Sissy ends up showing up at night, saying that she has something important to show him, and he already keeps saying that he doesn't want to sleep with her. Putting her foot on the bed, Sissy says that Lara Lynn is the young master's favorite, but he knows very well that she doesn't have enough power to withstand his energy. In other words, he would have to relieve his magical power with her. You know very well what she's trying to say here. The next day, he woke up very tired, since he spent a lot of energy during the night. He gets surprised, since Lara Lynn was preparing breakfast, and even asks why she was dressed like that. She said that she prepared breakfast with lots of love, and asks if he would like to eat first or take a shower, or if he preferred, she could prepare anything he liked. A little embarrassed, he said that he wasn't going to take a shower now, and that he would eat first. That snack was delicious, and the girl gets all in love. And he even comments to himself that it was very good to be pampered by a woman. In the angel's room, she was making a prayer to a statue, saying that she would like to capture Shenfan. The soldier girl was also making a prayer, praying to her weapon god, saying that she would like to take Shenfan for herself and also eliminate Lara Lynn. The mage was making some potions, saying that she would use Shenfan's red liquid to produce a substance that would make him fall in love with her. And lastly, the purple witch was making an offering to be able to see through walls. Don't ask me what she wanted to do with a magi sissy like that. At that moment, Shenfan ends up feeling that something bad is happening, and even ends up choking. Ordering the system to appear, she asks, what are the host's orders? He wanted to know what the other girls were doing, and even asks if the news that he was going to visit their house had spread, and the system says yes. So, a little embarrassed, he tells Lara there that he was going to visit the other girls to see if everything was okay. And she even ends up saying that handsome guys like him, it was already expected that he had other admirers. With a pain in his heart, he kept saying that he looked like an idiot, since he was going to stop giving attention to the girl he liked to give attention to some complete lunatics. And in this way, he ends up knocking on the door of Cecilia's house, who is that angel girl, and even says that she was the most normal one among all the others. She opens the door all excited, saying that she was the first to receive a visit from the young master. He noticed that her house had a strange smell and asked if she had burned some food, and the girl kept saying that she still hadn't adapted to this human technology. After sitting down, she came offering something for him to drink. After drinking, he felt a very strange taste and ended up spitting on the girl who was very close to him, saying that that taste there was very strange. It seemed that she had done this on purpose, only to take off her clothes, saying that now she was wet. She told him not to worry, because she emitted a sacred light that made it impossible for him to see things. However, our hero, he had a magi sissy that filtered that sacred light. So, basically, he was seeing everything. This made him feel very embarrassed, and he realized that all this was set up by her. However, the girl, she was very happy, because her strategy had worked, and there was a little eye of the witch watching everything. She even said that the face Shen Fan made was very cute when he blushed. On the other hand, the soldier girl, she had changed her tactics, and now she was going to go for plan B. Neona was managing to see all the other competitors because of that offering she made, and even comments that her enemies are very strong. The next one who would receive a visit from our hero was the little crimson mage called Freya. She had made some kind of spell to be able to hypnotize our hero and make him fall in love with her. However, she needed the boy's red liquid. Realizing that the Crimson Witch was spying on her, the girl ends up destroying that eye. Neona with that ended up discovering that Freya was going to get Shen's red liquid, and she would need to go there and tell everything. While going to our protagonist's mansion, the Purple Witch ends up getting there saying that she was going to stop her. Casting a lightning bolt, she tries to hit Freya, who ends up dodging. "This level of yours is not enough to stop me." And she already starts charging a Magicissi in her hand. She hits that giant eye, and on top of that creature, there was the Purple Witch Neona, and she keeps saying that she would stop her from harming Chiffon. She even comments that she could have turned a blind eye, but since the Crimson Mage wanted to hurt the young master, she couldn't let her go unpunished, and already starts preparing a Magicissi in the mouth of that monster. Our hero was going to Aki's house to see how she was. However, on the way, he ended up seeing that the sky was getting very strange. That was because of the battle between the two girls that was happening in the sky. The little Crimson Mage ends up being hit, and he jumps to try to catch her. At the last moment, he manages to catch the girl, preventing her from crashing into the ground. She was quite injured, and he uses his healing Magicissi to try to restore her wounds. With half-open eyes, she comments that her seal was being broken. At that moment, she starts acting strange and our protagonist gets scared, imagining that he did something wrong. We see a king commenting about his seal being broken, and with fingers full of rings, he said that he was not going to let that little Crimson Mage escape from him. The girl ends up changing her appearance, getting long platinum hair. He even asks if Freya was okay, since she looked very different. With a mystical aura, she asks what he had done to her. The guy ends up saying that he just used his healing spell. With a slightly embarrassed expression, she said that Master Shenfan really was very powerful, and only with his healing Magicissi, he was able to remove that seal of hers. However, the girl realizes that she no longer had her vial. That's because the Purple Witch ended up stealing from that mage the spell that she was going to cast on our hero. Raising the vial, she ends up showing it to Shenfan, and said that Freya, in fact, was going to try to hypnotize him. He asks if that was true, and the girl starts whistling, trying to disguise it. "How dare you say that? I'm not going to forgive you." The girl tries to strike her enemy. Actually, she had realized that Freya had changed, and maybe everything she was doing before was because of a spell that had controlled her mind. With a serious look, she told Freya that she was not afraid of her, and even more that she didn't have enough power to defeat her. At that moment, black hands end up coming out of the ground, capturing the girl. She keeps asking, "What the hell was this?" That's because she hadn't managed to hide her aura after the seal was broken. So, that person who had put that seal on her was bringing her back to that place. Our hero asked what was happening, and if that Magicissi was hers. However, the girl keeps asking for help, saying that she was being kidnapped, and he should save her. In this way, the two end up being swallowed by that dark magic. Sissy, who was up there in the clouds, commented that this ability was very interesting, and that it was going to be very fun to watch everything. Moments later, they end up falling in a very strange place, and he even asks where they were. In that place, there was a forbidden Magicissi stone that prevented their Magicissi from being used. Some ghosts end up appearing, and our hero already manages to cast a wind spell, eliminating them. That was quite strange, since he was managing to use Magicissi even in that place. The girl even comments that this is not an illusion, and actually they are real ghosts. "If you had some kind of curse on your body, you should have told me before." However, she got a little embarrassed because she hadn't told anything. But monsters appear and our hero keeps defeating all of them. Surprisingly, she gives a scream asking how he manages to use Magicissi so naturally, since that forbidden stone ended up nullifying magic. He couldn't say that he got those powers because of the system, so he keeps saying that it's just luck. However, that's enough to make Freya even more in love, saying that he really was amazing. He wanted to get out of there quickly, but the girl ends up throwing herself on him and saying that it was good for them to spend some time in that place to be able to rest. On the other hand, the guy who had put the sealing spell on Freya keeps saying that this girl is shameless, since she was offering herself to another guy. He even ends up summoning other little crimson mages to deal with Freya, saying that she is not going to escape from him. The sky starts to get dark, looking like something sinister is emerging up there. Both the angel and Neona keep saying that this must be the work of that little crimson witch. She must be behind everything. And that's exactly what happens. A clone version of the little crimson witch ends up appearing there at the mansion, saying that she is going to eliminate all threats. In this way, she ends up using a fire magi sissy against all the other girls. That protection shield of the technology girl ends up blocking the spells. The ones who went outside to protect were precisely Lara and the angel girl, Cecilia. The soldier asks what kind of situation this is, and Neona says that probably the Crimson Mage was being controlled. However, that was a great idea to be able to eliminate the other enemies and reduce the competition. Akiva goes forward to attack. Sissy, who just wanted to see the fight happen, stays down there celebrating, saying that it is being very interesting. Later, after walking a lot, the real Freya ends up taking our hero to her old house. She said that it was probably going to be a mess, since her student, Lilith, had been there alone. When they got there, Lilith, this cat girl, was sleeping on the couch, leaving the house a complete mess. She startled the girl by asking what she was doing. Lilith immediately kneels down apologizing and asks her master if the seal had been broken. The shameless one, our hero, keeps saying that it must be very cool to have a cat like Lilith. At the same time, the girl was suspicious of that guy her master had brought, saying that even though he seemed harmless, he was still dangerous. Soon after, Master Freya orders her to clean the house, since it was a mess. After giving the order, she sits on that dirty couch and asks her dear love to sit next to her. The girl already starts throwing her charm at our hero and asks if he has any desire or something that he really wants. He could only keep thinking about fame, money, and marrying Lara. However, he said that he already had everything he wanted. Freya, on the other hand, had something she really wanted: to eliminate a certain someone. She asks if by any chance Shen could do that for her. The little cat there in the background gets shocked, because her master also had a master. And our protagonist at the same time wants to know more about who this person is. In a very furious way, she said that it was someone who had done something bad, both to her and to her family. However, Shen was not the kind of person who went around eliminating random people. He wanted to know what that guy had done wrong, and even asks if she was in love with him. The girl said that maybe it wasn't exactly love, and that she was just acting that way so that he would do what she wanted. He was happy that she told the truth, and asked if she could use this restriction collar of servant and master. That way, she could obey him. In the background, Lilith keeps saying that it's very cool to see a master playing with a cat. Meanwhile, in her mansion, there were the Crimson Mage clones battling with the other wives. They said that it was practically impossible to fight against that. Probably those clones would only defeat them by wearing them down, since they kept recovering. They started using a very powerful fire magic. However, out of nowhere, those flames had gone out, and right after that, those clones ended up falling to the ground. That happened because our hero, together with Freya, arrived at the place where that king was commanding the clones. She had explained the whole story to our protagonist, and that's why he was motivated to eliminate this villain. In a very furious way, he said that it was the end for this scoundrel. Meanwhile, poor Lilith was working hard to get the house clean. Meanwhile, Sissy ends up appearing and asks Lai if she was interested in learning about the service system, which would be able to make her very happy. Soon after, she teleports to the place where that king was, and realized that our hero had already passed through there and eliminated him. Turning to her new assistant, she asks what she did to end up creating a creature out of control, which was that evil king. Her assistant keeps calling Sissy her sister, and asks her not to tell their father what she had done. Touching the back of that man, she said that he had a deep secret, and that the girl should not tell anyone. CS comments that the girl earned a new reward because of her host. She says that she can't accept it, since she reached the maximum limit of rewards. Touching her sister's face, Sissy says that she can't be so nice like that, and should have already entered the rebellious phase, because it was time to face their controlling father. She never expected that her host would cause so much disaster and turn so many people into puppets. This girl stays there trembling with fear. Her host was precisely that evil king. The girl keeps asking Sissy not to tell this to anyone. She wasn't guilty for the guy having done these bad things. However, she was guilty, yes, since she let that fat old man do those bad things. She even thought about telling Shen Fan to see what he would want to do with the girl. Getting very close to the girl's ear, she says what her requirements are so that she won't tell anyone. This makes the girl get extremely embarrassed and ask if her sister would be capable of that kind of thing. And so she keeps saying that this is her minimum requirement for not telling anyone. A little further from there, we see that our hero wanted to leave. However, Freya was clinging to his leg, not wanting him to go. She had one last request to make and asks him to please listen to her. He says that he already tried to release all those souls that the king had turned into puppets. If that was her request, unfortunately he couldn't help. At that moment, Sissy ends up appearing and says that if by any chance he wanted to help the girl, she could give him a power reward to assist him. He doesn't understand how Sis ended up in this world, which was a kind of alternate reality. She says that nothing is impossible for her. Looking at that blue flame in the system's hand, he asks what the hell that was. She said it was a reward for him having defeated the ancestor of the Lin family, and ends up giving that power to him, saying that now he will be able to rescue the people who were controlled by that scoundrel king. That shameless king had cast sealing spells on the Crimson Mages and turned them into a kind of puppets. Now that he would be able to save those witches, she gets all happy, celebrating, saying that he is the great savior. Like a good old charmer, our hero already holds her in his arms, saying that there's no time to waste. In this way, he ends up teleporting to the place to save those puppets. That girl named Xiao was dying of fear that Shen Fan would find out that the king did all that because of her, and end up punishing the girl. Getting there, they noticed several shadows, and he didn't think there were so many people like that. All this was because of that evil king. Not even the children were spared. Freya ends up finding her mother and gets surprised that she was still there. Shen ends up extending his hand and sucking that dark energy, and, in this way, the woman was purified. The girl hugged the spirit of her mother, crying a lot, saying that she feels guilty for everything that happened. However, the woman said that she was a good girl, and that it wasn't her fault. Besides, all the villagers had sacrificed themselves to protect her. Extending his hands, he starts sucking that dark energy from all the other Crimson Mages. The spirits of the people start celebrating, saying that they were finally free. The blonde girl even said that Freya had come back to set them free. That makes her surprised, because she imagined that everyone there would blame her, since the girl ended up running away from that evil king, instead of staying in the village to fight and protect them. She started crying a lot, asking if the people there didn't hate her. Her mother said that it wasn't her fault, since she was only trying to survive. The people were celebrating a lot, saying that she had not abandoned them, because in the end, she ended up returning to set them free. In a farewell tone, her mother said that she hoped she could forget all the hatred and sadness. In this way, the spirits of the Crimson Mages end up disappearing. That was a very emotional farewell. That left Shen surprised, and he knew that this ability of his was very powerful and carried a great responsibility to control it. In this way, he went to that crazy king, where his shadow also consumed him. He had realized that letting him simply die would be too easy. All the evil he did by enslaving the Crimson Mages could not simply be forgiven. In a very furious way, our hero said that this evil king should pay for his sins. He uses that new power of his, the blue flames. The scene goes back to the past, where we see a flashback of that evil king. Our hero was watching everything from the top of a building. That guy, in the past, suffered bullying. However, our hero didn't want to know about any of that. He already went grabbing him by the neck and asking why villains have to be weak in the face of difficulties, and that all people suffer. Xiao appeared there and said that this guy should use the system to do good things and not commit atrocities. He asks Xiao if she is also a system, and if by any chance there are other systems besides Sissy. The girl confirms, saying yes. That guy who had received the system was beating a woman in the middle of the street. Our hero realizes that he was an ordinary person. He was not a king. He had just gained the power of the system and transformed into that person. So he goes there and pulls the guy off the girl. He starts saying that he will punish him for having committed so many atrocities. Shen's intention was to travel through that guy's memory and make him suffer. However, the guy ended up being transfigured into a spirit. Right after that, he started running, trying to escape Shen's punishment. It seemed that the guy was possessed. He just wanted to do evil, and even ended up kicking a boy onto the train tracks. That makes Shen furious, and he asks if he likes pushing people off the platform. So he ends up kicking him too, making him also fall off. We have a brief explanation of how that guy's missions worked. Xiao explains that he can't simply eliminate the people he helped, but the guy was very villainous and said that it didn't matter. His goal was to cause terror. That makes her angry because he was using the system's powers to do evil. The guy's missions were to help people. But after he did that, the guy simply went back there and took that person's life. With that, he ended up collecting 100 souls, and even used those 100 souls of the Crimson Mages to attack the system. Our hero was there watching everything, and the guy even started feeling sick. He had a hobby of collecting the souls of the Crimson Mages, saying that this race was very beautiful. Even though the guy suffered a lot, Shen said that no suffering was enough for him to pay for all the sins he had committed. That's why our hero tried to make him pay in the same coin, creating several clones of him. The guy asks where the witch Freya was, since he had placed a seal on her, so she couldn't act so freely. Our hero discovers that this guy ended up eliminating all the villagers from Freya's village in order to look for her. He didn't want her to escape. Controlling the kingdom's soldiers, our hero made each of his clones suffer a certain punishment, as you can see. All that pain was transferred to him. The guy had used the system's power to go back to a medieval era and thus become a powerful king. He even exploited the power of the Crimson Mages. As a final punishment, our hero was going to make him suffer this loop for about 1,000 years. After coming out of there, he ends up finding Sis together with Xiao. His system even asks if her host hates evil. He was curious to know what the hell they are, since they can travel between dimensions and there is more than one system. The girl keeps joking, asking what our hero means when he says you, and ends up pointing to her sister. Showing her to Shen, she said that it was all Xiao's fault. She was the one responsible for creating a monster like that. The girl keeps apologizing and said that she was not necessarily responsible for that. She just didn't have control. However, he would let Freya decide what they would do with Xiao. After teleporting back, the girl stays there asking for forgiveness, saying that she wouldn't like to die. With tears in her eyes, she was finishing saying goodbye to her loved ones. Our hero appears there asking if she was already done. After saying everything she would like to say, she said that she had nothing else to say, and that now she only felt an emptiness in her heart. He had used his power together with Sissy to trap Xiao inside a barrier. Right after that, he explained everything to the girl, saying that there is a kind of system. He said that that guy gained power through Xiao, and that she should choose what they were going to do with this girl. However, she uses her seduction tactics and asks our hero what he thinks they should do with her. In response, he said that he was not going to choose for the girl. Now that she was released from that seal, she could decide what they were going to do with Xiao. In response, Freya said that she couldn't hate a little girl who was taken advantage of. Besides, she learned that she made an effort to save the Crimson Mages. However, if it weren't for that, surely she would be eliminated. In response, Nosarai said that he respected her choice and ended up freeing Xiao. However, the girl kept dying of fear, saying that she probably chose the wrong people to ask for help. Returning to our hero's mansion, the girls had managed to trap those clones. The angel ended up taking Lara inside the house, since the soldier girl was going to blow them up using a bomb. After pressing a button, that dynamite ended up exploding. However, those clones were intact. Nothing had happened, and they even commented that it was very difficult. However, Neona had a secret tacticity, which was to use her void worm. She ordered her creature to devour those clones, and the creature went there all thirsty, starving. At the last moment, our hero appeared asking them to stop. The girls were surprised because our hero had finally returned. The poor worm said that he only agreed to come to this world because they said he would be able to eat a lot. There he was being prevented from killing his hunger. Lara said that it was already expected that Shen could get out of that parallel world. The guy had a little kiss mark on his neck and ended up saying that he could explain. In the background was Freya saying that their love ended up being exposed. Cecilia got mad saying that that little witch was shameless and was acting immorally. When Kiev went towards Freya, she ended up hitting her face on the barrier. She used a protective barrier and said that no one should approach her and Shen. However, Neona got mad saying that she was not going to take orders from a weak girl. A little confused, Cecilia asked why Lara was not mad, since she saw her beloved fiancé with a kiss mark. In response, Lara said that she trusted our hero. In this way, they all started fighting each other. They all started fighting, and our hero said that they had a good relationship among themselves. Right after that, he used his dark energy drain ability to free those puppets. However, in fact, it was not a person's spirit, but a living person. It was a very beautiful woman who asked how long she had been sleeping. He didn't understand anything. Unexpectedly, the girl threw herself on our hero using a seduction tactic. She said that it was very good to have woken up from sleep and to have come across a handsome man. Touching our hero's shoulder, she said that it was good to talk alone with him. In this way, he ended up being teleported to another place. Meanwhile, the girls were fighting and didn't see anything. He realized that he was in a very different place and that his shirt had disappeared. Scratching his head, he asked if that place was still China. Right after that, he felt something soft on his back. He thought it was Freya, but the girl blew a pink smoke into his ear. After inhaling that smoke, he fainted. This was the leader of the witch clan, Carmazino. Holding him in her lap, she said that she didn't want the other witches to be deceived by humans. That's why she was going to test him. Right after that, he woke up on a park bench. He didn't understand why he was wearing different clothes. After calling for the system, he realized that she was not responding. He even asked why his ability to see through illusions was not working. With a serious look, he said that he would have to deal with that witch alone, since she was not trusting him. In the system's dimension, Sissy commented that it had already been 24 hours since Shenfan had disappeared. Xiao appeared and asked if he wasn't going to lose his life if he stayed so long without practicing dual cultivation. Sissy had said that. The older sister ignored the comment, which makes us think that maybe it is a lie. She said that they should focus now on the leader of the witch clan, Carmazino. That's because he was kidnapped by this leader, and she was not going to be able to track him because the witch's power was out of her reach. Besides, he would have to give a little push to our hero so that he could conquer this witch. He ends up sneezing, asking who was speaking ill of him. Right after that, he remembered that, if he didn't practice dual cultivation, he could lose his life and started to feel a strong pain in his body. At that moment, he started to think that maybe it was true what the system had been saying all this time. He thought that it was just an excuse from her to take advantage of him. He decides that it would be better to find some girl to practice cultivation and get rid of this chaotic sissy energy. At that instant, who appears is exactly Freya. Lorraine gets surprised, asking how she ended up in this other dimension. But the girl explains that this is actually the spiritual sanctuary, a dimension created by the witches. She asks what he was thinking, since he had a pretty naughty face. He keeps trying to hide it. She explains that the system had told her about the condition of our hero, who needed to practice dual cultivation with women to stay alive. With a mischievous face, she said that she knew about the condition of our hero, who needed to practice dual cultivation with a woman not to die. He says that this is nonsense and not true. However, she slaps his back, saying that he is risking his life. Our hero knew that this was true, so he would probably have to practice cultivation with her. Meanwhile, the leader of the witches, that shameless one, was there watching everything. She was seeing all the acts in that crystal ball and even gets emotional, saying that the big guy there was potent. She comments that she didn't know that men like that existed. However, she ends up being surprised by Sissy, who found her. She treats the leader of the witches with a lot of respect, and says that she came to talk about the judgment of the heirs. Basically, there was an inquisition that was hunting the witches. The leader asks how this girl knew that. She knows everything. Our protagonist gets very tired and comments that Freya has more energy than Sissy. Right after that, he asks if the girl can get him out of there. She had fallen in love. Apparently, our hero was good at what he did. He comments that it would be very useful if they could simply live in this dimension. He doesn't think it's a good idea and comments, if she can't get him out of there, he will simply destroy the place. What do you mean, you are going to destroy this place? This is the size of planet Earth. There's no way you can destroy it. However, he says that he has already destroyed other systems before and will do it the same way he did in the past. He prepares and gives a powerful strike on the planet. He was really trying to destroy the place just to go back to his other dimension. He shouts for Freya to get out of there so she doesn't get hurt, and strikes the ground. The place gets very destroyed. The girl celebrates, saying that he was incredible and very powerful. Wait a minute, you are still here? I told you to get out. You are going to be in danger. However, she says that it is not easy to destroy this dimension because he would first need to defeat the Guardian. Only witches can enter and leave this place. Normal people, like him, would need to defeat this Guardian first. At that instant, two Guardians appear who are ancient enemies of the Witch Clan. These Inquisitors were used by the Karmazin witches to protect the place. One of the Inquisitors charges at our protagonist, who manages to defend himself. Actually, these Guardians were very similar to Cecilia. Freya comments that the Inquisition was actually formed by angels from the divine realm. They went to war with the Karmazin witches many years ago. Now they were using these angels to protect this place. Since Cecilia was quite similar to these angels, he asks if by any chance Freya is her enemy. Freya calls Cecilia a featherless bird and says that she is not an angel. Our protagonist gets confused. What do you mean Cecilia is not an angel? She is practically an angel. Meanwhile, the Inquisitors stay up there watching our protagonist talk about this so-called Cecilia. Freya explains that, actually, Cecilia is not an angel, but a different kind of species. However, what was really catching Shenfan's attention was why the hell the witches were using their own enemies as protectors. In other words, the clan leader created this parallel universe and used the Inquisitors there as guardians to prevent the little witches from leaving. It was a way to contain the witches so they wouldn't escape to the other world. While they fought, our protagonist was only defending himself because he wanted to find out more about the past of the Karmazin witches. Our protagonist asks why there were so many Karmazin witches in that village where she lived, since they had been dominated by that evil king. The girl said that several witches ended up fleeing from there over the years. Anyway, we just needed to defeat these Inquisitors. That's right. On the other hand, the clan leader was thinking about using Shenfan to destroy these Inquisitors. However, she didn't trust him much, because she thought he was just a shameless guy. Sissy says that her host was very powerful and worthy, but the girl said that he would never be able to defeat those Inquisitors, because he didn't seem to be that strong. At that moment, she heard a man's voice. When she turned around, there was our hero after defeating those three Inquisitors. She gets surprised, and even Freya greets her leader. The scene shifts back to Cecilia, and it seems that the Neona discovered that, actually, she was not an angel. Look here, you might even look and act like an angel, but I took this pretty shameless photo of you. So, you are not an angel, you must be of another race. After speculating a lot, she lifts the angel's dress and reveals that, actually, she had a demon's tail. The scene changes to the place where the angels lived. There, someone was reading about the protocol of a fallen angel who decided to move to Earth and undergo a certain transformation. This angel, in fact, was Cecilia, who descended to Earth to investigate the cause of the rebirth of the Witch Clan. The scene shifts back to Cecilia promoting her host, saying that he is very powerful and that it was she who trained him. Yeah, right. You trained me, huh? You didn't train me at all, girl. I got strong by my own merit. Freya also spoke very well of Shenfan, saying that he would be capable of protecting the Witch Clan against the Inquisitors. She continues saying that, besides being powerful, he was very handsome. The leader says that her pupil is just hypnotized by the boy's beauty. So, she wonders if he knows what is going on. Otherwise, he should grab the tablet and see the information. After using a spell to see if Freya was hypnotized, she discovered that the girl wasn't brainwashed. She was just shameless. After reading all the information, he explains to the leader that he understood this war that the Karmazin witches were waging with the Inquisition, and that he would like to help. That makes her find everything very suspicious, and imagine that he is only doing this to get with the witches, since the little witches are very pretty. That makes our hero angry, asking what the hell the system had told this girl. And Cecilia stays there giving that little lick. Shameless. The scene shifts back to our hero's mansion, where the four girls were gathered to expose the little angel. They discovered that this girl, in fact, was not an angel. Quite the opposite. She gets terrified of what will happen to her. Even Kiv and Lara wonder what the hell she did. The Neona reveals that she is not an angel, but a succubus. For those who don't know, succubi are very naughty demons, if you know what I mean. That makes the two girls extremely disappointed. Cecilia asks if she will not be punished for having deceived everyone. Lara said that everyone has secrets, but those naughty girls always get in trouble in the books she reads. She tells the other girls that they didn't need to punish Cecilia, because life itself would punish her. She starts to cry, saying that, after all, she is not an angel. She wishes she were. But Neona says that this is not the most important thing. What really mattered was Shenfan's safety, and they were not going to let that Cecilia harm him. They were not sure exactly where he was, but suspected it had something to do with Freya, since she had also disappeared. Neona comments that she discovered Shenfan's secrets, and Lara gets surprised, asking how she knew that. Deep down, Cecilia asks Kiv what the hell they are talking about, since the two were not understanding anything. At that moment, they hear a noise outside. When they go out, they notice the place outside was totally destroyed, and a silhouette says she smelled witches, and it made her nauseous. Who was there was an angel of the Inquisition, and said she would destroy all the witches, but the archangel recognized Cecilia, and the girl was there terrified. The scene goes back to the witch leader, who said she would only trust our hero if he could pass the Guardian's test. She ends up creating a portal and says he would need to pass these tests to prove he was someone worthy. His goal was to protect the Karmazin witches, and he even asked why all the fuss. She says it would be very good for the witches, because they wouldn't need to hide in that other universe. The leader says that if he could pass this test, she would accept his help, but he should not count on help from the other witches, because they probably wouldn't trust him. Alright, no problem at all. Just send this test for me to do already. He enters the portal and goes to the test location to face the Guardian. The witch comments that this guy is doing all this just to have a harem of girls, but Freya says that is not true. He was helping them because he was worried. Xiao even comments to Sissy that her host was very powerful and had an unusual power. Adjusting her glasses, Sissy says that in fact, her sister Xiao was very silly, because Shenfan was helping because he had a special trait. Very excited, Xiao asks if that was why the older Surma had put her to help take care of Shen. Shenfan's special trait is that he always felt responsible for taking care of people, and that made him stronger. After arriving at the place, he asks what the content of this test is. She explains that it will test his ability to protect things, since he would need to protect the witches from the Inquisitors. So, he would need to protect the clothes on his body. At that moment, all his clothes are burned, leaving only the lower part. He starts hitting the smoke, trying to put it out, and notices that only that piece of clothing remained because it had durability above normal. He comments that this will be pretty easy and asks to go ahead with the test. At that moment, scissors appear trying to cut his clothes. Very scared, he says that this was dangerous, since he almost lost the buddy, and all those naughty girls were excited, saying the game was about to start. That way, we end part 1 of The System Boy. If you like this work, comment part 2 and I will bring the continuation for you. Don't forget to leave a like because it helps a lot with the promotion. So that's it. Thanks, and see you next time, guys.